If you're a solo esthetician and you hate creating content or can't seem to get clients on social media, then you want to keep watching. On today's Beauty Babble, we're getting to the truth about growing on social as a solo esty without a content team. I'm Darine, brand and content strategist and former esthetician.
And I'm Suzanne, Stesco certified esthetician with over 30 years, former spa owner, and now educator and mentor to beauty pros.
Today, we're joined by two pros who live and breathe beauty socials, Christian Oshwa and Chrissy Roberts. Christian is a digital content manager with Tuel Skincare and Berodin Wax, and Chrissy is community manager with Tuel and Berodin. Christian and Chrissy, thank you for being part of this conversation and for bringing your expertise to our audience.
Thank you for
That's great.
having our American selves on the
Yes.
pod.
Yeah, we're not holding that against you.
No,
Please don't.
I'm glad we finally got this connect. I know you're busy, busy down there with all of the changes and new things happening. So it's exciting.
Okay, well, this is a big topic, and I know that we can all talk about this for hours, probably, but when we talk about solo estheticians showing up on social media, a lot of what I hear is, I'm not a content creator, or I hate it. What would you say to those estheticians?
I would love to touch on this. I work full time for the brand as a content manager, where we do have a content team where I help produce the content. We strategize. It's a big operation. But I am also a small business owner with my own aesthetics practice. And I know what that feeling is like. It is very easy to get overwhelmed. Right? It's very easy to feel like you need to be on every single platform. Oh my gosh, I need to get on TikTok because everyone's on TikTok and that algorithm is favoring content creators. But I don't know if my business is there, but I'm more of like a Facebook girly, right? So very easy to compare yourself to others, very easy to feel like you're not doing enough. It's very easy for that imposter syndrome to start kicking in. And no matter how much of a qualification you might have, right? Whether you studied this professionally, whether you've worked in this professionally, we're all going to feel that pressure coming from inside the house and external pressure. So, where I love to suggest people get started is find a platform that feels native to you. Where are you already the most engaged, right? Is it Twitter? Is it YouTube? Is it TikTok, right? Maybe it's Facebook groups. And there's nothing wrong with just focusing on one platform if you know that you're going to get overwhelmed easily, and then figuring out how you can translate whatever you're doing on that platform to other channels.
I love
You
that.
make
That's
that
great
sound so
advice.
simple. That's good. Hmm.
Yeah, just to add to what Christian said, we're all busy people, right? And what I always tell everyone is that we want this to be an extension of what we're already doing. We don't want socials to feel like homework. It should be fun. We don't want it to be overwhelming. So, you do want to pick that platform that is right for you. You want to think about what kind of audience you want to have, what kind of clients you want to reach to. That's really important as well. But again, don't overwhelm yourself with trying to get a hold of everybody, because as I'm sure we're going to get into, the algorithm is always changing. We always have to feel like we keep up with everything, but it's about establishing a pattern that is right for you. And just as long as you have a consistent cadence and you know who you're speaking to, you're going to be just fine. So I'm sure we'll get into more later, but I'm always just trying to stress like the comfortability of it all because
Hmm.
again, you really don't want it to be an added stress. You want it to be fun because then it's going to translate to your audience that, you're having a good time in your business. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I know, Christian, you touched on this a little bit, but just for our listeners and our viewers, tell us a bit about what you do on a day to day and to give them a little bit of perspective of where you're coming from.
Yeah, so as a digital content manager, for a professional grade skincare brand by pros for pros and a wax brand, it's a pretty big animal, right? And it's like I conceptualize and strategize our email campaigns, landing pages, banners, social media graphics. I work with the whole team, the marketing team, Kristen as well. We meet constantly, Like I said, a lot of it is conceptualizing strategy, blogs, all the social media channels. I
Mhm.
produce the content when we are in our office. We typically have monthly shoots. So I work with a videography team. I work with our marketing team and models, other estheticians that we bring in for content, our educators. So I feel like I'm constantly talking to like 50 people minimum a day. So it's a
So
lot of
true.
dialogue to manage. And that's what I do regularly. And then for my business, because I work full time doing this for a brand, when it comes to my personal business, it's just what I can take on. It's by appointment only, and it's typically very limited hours, but I still like to maintain my practice. And all of my clients that I've ever worked on have primarily come from Instagram.
That's
Interesting.
great. Well, you'll have to tell us more about that in a little bit. Chrissy, why don't you talk about what you do on a day to day?
Yeah, so similar to Christian, like you said, I mean, we are a small remote team, but we have like a global reach, right? So we are constantly talking, constantly in meetings about strategy. So we do wear a lot of different hats, but for me, primarily, like Christian said, I help curate that content as well. I schedule our calendar to make sure that our audience is getting the proper messaging of what we're trying to convey, right? So I help there, and then I also manage our Instagram and Facebook accounts. So I am the voice behind the account. So whenever someone is DMing, like I'm a chatty Kathy, so like I love talking to everyone. Yeah. So when you DM us about a question, or if you need to get a hold of someone else, or if you need a link to something, I am always there. So I really just try to maintain a healthy line of communication between all channels. But really, I try to nurture our esthetician community so that they can nurture their clients. Because again, with socials, it can be a bit of a beast, but we want to make sure that they feel the presence of our support so that if they need questions with, okay, what do I put in my bio? Or, how can I showcase, this case study of this client? You know what I mean? Like we're there for them in that aspect. So every day I find myself communicating with at least like 10 different SDs on different channels of like what to do or how to use something or however. So I'm always on my toes. I'm always in our tech manual, always talking to our director of education because I am, not a professional esthetician, right? So I'm just learning a lot by osmosis and like, through this position. So it's constantly, just a constant well of information that I'm diving into. So I really just love that aspect of our job and what we do at Tuel Berodin. We're just constantly involved in the community. We're really like up in your business for real. Like Christian said, I think before, you feel free to email us because, we want to be there for you. You want us to feel our presence. So I just kind of make sure that that is felt and that just the communication is very clear and that everyone has what they need from us.
So this topic, it's a big one. I think a lot of SDs are overwhelmed by it because they're on their own. They don't have a content team. They don't have all of these people to work with. So how do we break it down for them, the professional, if they're just starting out or they're really looking at now's the time I really need to do something different? What what could you give them or tell them? Maybe a few steps to get started with this so they can start learning to grow their business through Instagram.
Absolutely. My golden rule when it comes to content creation and anything social media, and I need everyone to say this out loud in their commute, in their car, in their treatment room, wherever
Mhm.
you're listening. Repeat after me. Done is better than perfect. Done
Mm,
is
Yeah.
better than perfect.
Love that.
Remind yourself that every single day. That needs to be your mantra every single day until you get comfortable with showing up for your business, because it's not just showing up for yourself, it's showing up for your business. And in this age, it's showing up for your clients. It's actually offering professionalism. It's part of your treatment at this point to educate clients, to remind clients online. And I want to remind the professional, we've never had this much access to potential client leads. Back in the day, you would have had to pound the pavement with flyers, business cards, prints, marketing materials, whatever. You need to shift your focus. Not that I think that that stuff doesn't matter. I think print still matters. I think business cards still matter. I am a little old school like that too. You never know where you're going to meet a client. I've definitely made friends and made clients in line at the grocery store, just talking freely about skin, but really embodying what you do and who you are and being a representation for what you do. also translates digitally, right? So the place you want to start is remind yourself done is better than perfect. Next, start on one platform that you're already native on, right? If you are like myself, more comfortable on Instagram, that's where you have more engagement or where you're more engaged, start with Instagram. I'm not trying to be on every app. I'm going to be real. I'm not really a fan
Right.
of TikTok. I don't need another distraction in my life. For me, where I have found the most success is Instagram because it's the easiest for me to do and it's the least overwhelming for me to do. So after you remind yourself done is better than perfect and you find the platform that you feel comfortable on, I would suggest make a mood board or save some pieces of content that really resonate with you and figure out a way that you can repurpose them. And I would even argue seek inspiration outside of skincare, outside of the aesthetics
Yeah.
industry. I take all of
Yeah.
my inspo from fashion, I take my inspo from makeup, hair, other beauty categories, right, that aren't necessarily going to translate into an aesthetics business. You just never know where you can find inspiration from. I'm not trying to be like everybody else. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. And for me, what I find the content that translates either into an appointment or a sale is when I just share personal stories, whether it's about my skin, whether it's about an interaction I had that day, whether I'm showing you my outfit or the concert I'm at. A lot of it is just sharing what you feel comfortable with, and you never know how that conversation, that reaction, that response can end up translating into a booking or into a sale. So again, don't overthink it.
Right.
You don't have to like necessarily straight up showcase product. Now, I think it's smart for you to do, but people need to see things so many times before they think, oh, let me purchase. Oh, wait, now when they have a skincare concern, when they're, getting out of the shower and there's a huge zit or breakout on their face, now they're going to think of you because they saw you post a few times today, or they've been seeing you post consistently. And now they're like, wait, I have this concern. Who can I go to? Right. So that's the importance of showing up for your business and for your clients digitally. And another place or another thing to do in the beginning is start engaging with the people you want to attract as a client. You can't expect people to come to you if you're not coming to the people. Like you need to be commenting on people's posts and not just heart emojis, but comment something worth responding to, right? And I
Mhm.
think it's very easy for us to forget. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, there's so much content pollution. There's so much garbage out there. There's so much copycat. There's like, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think everyone is that interesting, you know? But at the end of the day, I can't be a hater because they're doing it and it's translating to sales. So it's like, do you want to be a bitter hater small business owner or do you want to be a thriving one? And guess what? The people who are thriving are the people who lean into the cringe. The people that are the most successful are the people who are not afraid to make themselves look bad
Yeah.
or show up in an imperfect manner online.
You
So
know,
that's
just
where
to
I
add to
always
that,
suggest starting.
yeah, just to add to that, Christian, because I mean, so many points there. I think that, people really want to know how the sausage is made, right? Like I always say that people want to see behind the scenes. It's not just product anymore. People want to know the esthetician. So it can almost feel like a personal account, your day to day and what you're doing, again, back to just making it fun and making it personal, right?
Mhm.
Because unfortunately, we're in really tough times and people know what they can and can't afford. I mean, let's be real. So when you're going out, like, if you can get something or not, and however, but when you want to invest in something, when you want to treat yourself and give yourself that elevation, you want to go to someone who you can feel. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but I think that you kind of have to feel like an entity. You have to feel tangible. So what Christian
Hmm.
is saying, an extension of that is engaging with the people that you want to have as clients. So that kind of looks like, going into people's comments and, just like praising their work or just saying, hey, like, I have this thing going on, come visit my page or however. And it's so low stakes. Like I always tell people, this is such a low stakes thing, right? Like it's just, you just post and go, and you're trying to build a community. But these are things that you do have to do just to make yourself feel, like a real person, and like the person that you want to come to you is investing in you, and not just a person trying to sell their product and their services. Because like Christian said, there is so much pollution out there. There's so many people just trying to just sell themselves. So how can you differentiate? And that's just by being authentic.
Hmm.
Truly. It
It's
really
so,
is.
yeah, so I guess the place to start is with your mindset.
Yeah.
I think that brings me to my I was going to play devil's advocate here because a lot of what I hear from people that I work with, and I mean, even with Tara from Beauty Call, it took months upon months to convince her to be on camera because people don't want to. Like, I don't want to be on camera.
Hmm.
I don't want to share about my life. We feel uncomfortable. We touched about this, like imposter syndrome, all these feelings that we have, all just our insecurities all come to surface. So I think that is a reality for a lot of estheticians. How would you recommend easing yourself into it? And I'll give you an example. When I started my business, I was always used to being behind the scenes. And then I'm like, okay, I knew I had to take my own advice. And the first time I did a video, it sounded like I was fighting with the camera. And so every morning I got up before my kids and I sat on my patio and I talked to myself on camera every morning about whatever. I would delete it, but then I just got more and more comfortable. And for me, that's kind of, and I tell all my clients to do that. Just turn on the camera and talk to yourself. But what are some tips that you could give us for that esthetician who's like, no, I'm not going to be on camera?
I think, first of all, your tip is perfect in terms of just you have to create. You're only going to get good and you're only going to be happy with what you end up putting out into the world by doing it. It's a muscle, it's
Sure.
practice, it's skill.
Yeah.
Just like you had to develop your skill by educating yourself and going to trainings and learning from other people, you got to do that online. Part of it, you need to get over yourself. To be honest, my biggest tip is you're not that special. No one cares. Like, you're really not that important. And if someone really takes the time to deeply reflect on the way you look in something or the way you came across, that says more about them than for you. Girl, worry about getting your bag. You're focused on other things because that person's not your client. So move on because you're here for your clients. You're not here for the haters. And guess what? At least if they're going to lurk on your page and they're going to take the time to criticize you while they're watching your content, they're actually feeding into your engagement and they're allowing for your content to become more discoverable. So, girl, take the compliment, take it as a blessing, and get over yourself. That's like, it's the truth. And just get comfortable. Like, so do everything you need to do to feel comfortable. If you know you're going to go on vacation in a few months and you're going to be in a swimsuit and you feel insecure about the way that you look right now, you know what you have to do to get comfortable in a few months so that you can live your best life on vacation in that swimsuit. You either need to get over it and just be happy, or you need to get your ass in the gym and do something about it, right? So it's like we all know what we need to do to make ourselves comfortable. So do what you need to do. So either get over yourself or start working at it so that you can get good at it.
Right. And I will say, just to the working at it part, right? Because I do agree. Yeah, you do need to get over yourself like a bit, but I know that just in the sea of content, there are creators that just get savvy in the way that they do things, right? So just to get technical, there are people that we follow that never show their face. Right. But
Hmm.
they like do things with their hands. They do stuff with their voiceovers. And then if we're talking about in the aesthetic space, if you get permission from your client, you can just show your client progress. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many things to work around that aspect, the nervousness. So again, that's where I emphasize the, like, just get comfortable, like just get your feet wet a little bit, because there are ways that you can work around having to, show the moneymaker. We're working our way up there, right? But like, there's so many ways that we can be savvy around that too. It does not have to be daunting.
So you don't
Mind.
have to talk to the camera. You can
No.
take a video of yourself doing a treatment and maybe do a voiceover or just like text
Some
on
text
screen,
overlay,
right?
absolutely.
Just till
Yeah.
you get till you get comfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
100%. I always say.
that being said, then don't be disappointed when, the engagement isn't there because you have to ask yourself, would I stop and watch this? Would I comment? Would I like this? Would I consume this? Is this what my target demographic? Is this what they want to see? So that's the other part, right? And then I want to remind us estheticians, we're providing a very intimate service. Okay, a client is coming to you, for example, I primarily focus on skin. They're in a very vulnerable position. People are only coming to you because they have a concern, right? They're not coming to you because their skin's already flawless and they feel comfortable in it. So, you guys, remember, you're going to spend a very intimate amount of time with this client. They want to know what you look like. They want to know your name. They want to know what your space looks like. They want to know what they're getting themselves into. That's going to make a client more comfortable and more likely to book with you than if you're just like posting flyers or infographics or, basic education that they can find anywhere else. What makes you special is you. It's who you are. So if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, or if you're not comfortable sharing personal details about your life, like I do not share about my family. I don't feel comfortable sharing a lot of personal details. I make it look that way online because I focus on certain pillars that make people think, "Oh my god, I know Christian." But you really only know a very limited amount of what I want you to know, right? But it's the way you present information. So like if you're not comfortable in front of the camera, are you going to be comfortable when they walk in your room? You know what I mean? It's kind of the same now.
Yeah, I like
That's
your
interesting.
you're more strict
Hmm.
in your
Yeah,
approach.
Christian's very strict. Yes.
Yeah. Tough
Well,
love.
because I have to
Mhm.
remind
It's
estheticians
true.
because I have that I am that esthetician. I was the
Mhm.
same way and I still am. No matter how much experience I have and no matter how much like qualification I have, I still have that little voice in the back of my mind telling me all of that, right? And it's very
Yeah.
easy to fall into that rut. But I have to remind myself it's not that deep. You can always delete
Mhm.
it later. It's not that
Yeah, it
deep.
doesn't
And
have
if
to be
it
daunting.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're like you said at the beginning that, not that many people are probably going to see it, especially when it's your first few posts. Like if you're trying to get the views and the engagement, you're not there yet. So it's just practice to put it out there.
100%.
Well, I think one of the key things that you said, and I always say this too, when we provide services and we do these treatments, it is personal, it's personable, and you have to put yourself there so people can connect with you. Because I know when I used to work in a spa, my clients were my clients because we connected and they came back to see me. And even if I was away and they saw somebody else, they would always just come back to me when I was back from holidays or whatever, because we connected on whatever, the same vibe. Same thing would happen online, right? You're going to get your clients when they get to know who you are and they know, hey, this is the esthetician for me.
Yes, and the more personal you get online, the more you attract people that align with your frequency. Right? So
Yeah.
that's how you end up attracting those ideal clients. Almost all of my clients that I've attracted, especially from Instagram, have become very meaningful relationships to me, right? That now I can't picture without. And I feel so privileged that they're willing to exchange their hard earned funds for my service, where I feel like
Mhm.
I'm hanging out with a friend at this point, right? That I'm providing a very profound service because especially with skincare and the industry we're in, I don't think it's yes, there's a vanity portion, but there's a strong mental health component to it. It's really
Yeah.
Very much so.
part of wellness, in my opinion. I've always seen beauty that way. It's part of health. So just remember that, you guys, it's not that deep and they're here for you. And the more you share, like who you are, you're gonna attract the ideal clients that you're not gonna be able to live without.
I think I want to reiterate what you said at the beginning, which is done is better than perfect. We have given our listeners and viewers lots and lots of information, but if they take one thing away, it's just get out there and do it. We had such an amazing conversation with Christian and Chrissy that we've broken up the episode into two. So tune in for the next episode, which will come out in a couple of weeks.